Hello, welcome to AI Decoded. We've been away for a few weeks, but we're back. New studio, brand new look, same mission. We are here to help you understand the artificial intelligence in your world. And this week we are going to look at gaming. Nvidia's new AI software billed as the biggest leap in gaming in nearly a decade. Graphics so realistic, the company says they will rival Hollywood special effects. But is that the future? We'll get the thoughts this week of one of the biggest names in the industry, Alanah Pearce. Also this week, the advances in the NHS will take you inside an operating theatre to show you how AI is quietly transforming the way our hospitals work. Marc Cieslak has been to see it. And this.
Hey, human. When are you gonna get my food?
You've got food.
Not dry food, wet food. I want meat.
Can AI unlock the secret language of our pets? Author and AI expert Dr. Stephanie Hare is here to guide us through that and everything else besides. Hello. The first commercially successful video game was called Pong, launched by Atari in 1972. 2 lines and a dot. Then came pixels, colour, 2D, 3D, and in 2018, ray tracing, the technology that for the first time simulated how light behaves in the real world. Games with shadows, every reflection, closer to reality than ever before. This past week, Nvidia claims to have taken the biggest leap yet, real-time neural rendering that brings almost movie-like quality to our favourite games. It's their latest advance in DLSS. Here's a taste. Marc, what is DLSS and why is there such a fanfare around this 5th version of it?
Deep learning super scaling, if you like acronyms. It's been developed by Nvidia. It's a AI graphics technology designed to make games run and look sharper by rendering images at a lower resolution, then using machine learning to rebuild them in higher detail.
Let's talk about the visuals and get the view of someone who knows all about it. Alanah, it's a real pleasure to have you on the programme. You've been everywhere in gaming. You've reviewed games, you've been a writer, a voice actor, you've even been a character in a game. So you are uniquely placed to tell us where all this is heading. What did you make of it?
Man, that's so much to unpack in one question. First, I do want to touch on what you guys were just talking about, which is like about how much graphical fidelity matters to gamers. I think this is maybe a misconception. If you talk about games that you played in the 90s, there are many games that come out these days that look very similar graphically to games that came out in the 90s. That is a retro aesthetic that's actually extremely popular. It feels in many ways that the AAA games, those are the ones with, $100 million budgets, are pushing realism on gamers who aren't actually demanding it. It feels more like it's a marketing gimmick than anything else. There are games that are extremely pixelated that are some of the most beloved games of the last 10 years. You may have heard of Iron Lung. It's a film adaptation that just came out from a content creator called Markiplier. That game, fairly recent. The graphics wouldn't look too dissimilar to what came out on a PS2. So this is... My immediate reaction is, who is this for? This is not something that gamers are asking for. And my default answer to that is that the solution that's being presented here is a stock market one, not one that actually serves any consumer need from any gamer's perspective. People love games of all different kinds. They love games on the Switch that again, are pixelated, are hand-drawn, are 2D. They love games that maybe in a lot of cases are just text-based.
And 2 of the companies, Capcom, Ubisoft, 2 major developers, said they only found out about DLSS at the same time as the public, even though their games were used in their demo.
They keep using this talking point that the developers will have control. How? It's very confusing. If you use games that the developers didn't even have a say in, how they're going to have control over all of this. And across the board, the developer reaction that I've seen is also extremely negative. One important part of this to know for the games industry as well is also that DLSS in many ways becomes the norm. It is very, very, very widely adopted. People are very eagerly anticipating it every time that there is an update. So DLSS 5 coming with an update that is very AI focused. From the perspective of a lot of people in the games industry, which has faced many, many, many layoffs over the past several years, does feel like just another means for technology to, yes, take away jobs. But there's also like a pretty broad history here. So the games industry over the last 10, even 20 years has been in many instances bigger than the GDP. It is such an incredibly profitable industry. It's in the investment in video games has been truly, truly tremendous. And they've been trying to find many means to keep investors on board while areas of growth have kind of stagnated. So I think a lot of people don't really realize quite how human placement of lighting in video games can be. We actually have a lot of people who are kind of the equivalent of a DP in film. There are some games that have multiple. There's a game called Detroit Become Human, where they had several directors of photography who had actually worked on film, who chose, different lenses, different types of lighting, different levels of grain for the different characters that you play in that game so that you get a different feel based on each character. That's extremely personalized, again, in kind of the same way that it is for somebody
really
who is physically on a set placing lighting.
So there's a
if
loyalty. There's a loyalty to these brands that Nvidia doesn't properly understand
or care about really at all. Seemingly, again, it really feels to me like it's profit, and maybe I'm being overly jaded, but there's definitely just video games are made by people. I understand that they're a technology, they're a software, but they really are very delicately handcrafted in a lot of ways. And this technology, by default, kind of normalizes things. That's not usually what we want from the people in the art departments in video games.
And Alanah, you were saying that this isn't what the market, what developers want. What do they want, and why isn't Nvidia meeting that need?
That's a great question. I would love to know NVIDIA's corporate answer to that. What do developers want? Truly, I would think that at this point, it would be very nice if there was less of a demand for realism in video games. And the reason that I say that is because that is really what's inflating development cycles. Games used to take maybe 4 years for a AAA title, and now it's up to 6, 7, 8, 10 in the case of something like Grand Theft Auto 6, which is supposedly coming out later this year, unless it gets delayed again.
Could it democratize? I mean, there surely are developers or artists out there who want to get involved in this, who might have technology in their hands now that would enable them to do that.
Maybe it could democratize it for someone who wants to do absolutely nothing and type a few words and have something come out. But then I would argue, are they really making a game, or are they just making an AI generation? So I don't think that's, a need that we have. There are so many video games and so many new game developers joining the industry every day at this point. We've
been having a discussion here about whether, gaming was there was a point where people wanted to leave consoles and PCs behind and everything come through the internet. Is that where the industry would prefer to go if you could solve the latency problem, or does gaming want to go towards consoles and PCs?
Yeah, absolutely not. Again, the investors would really like us to go all cloud streamed. This is not something that gamers want at all. And I think it's also like that's on every step of the way. People still love having video game consoles. People still love their PCs. People certainly love being able to customize their PCs. Mine is currently like above this webcam right now because I have it on the wall as an art piece. It's like full open case PC hung on my wall. It looks like a painting. It's beautiful. And that's like part of the love of certainly being in the industry is like you want to be able to customize things on your own. So I would say no. People are pretty happy with video games how they are. Like there's not a lot of changes we're asking for. Kinda, yeah. It's like it's been pretty good for a long time.
Yeah. Okay. Well, listen, we're going to move on. Alanah, do stay with us because we'd like your views on some of the other stories we're going to cover. Now, we hear a lot about AI in healthcare, robots performing surgeries, AI diagnosing cancers, but there are some unglamorous efficiency gains that AI is quietly delivering in the NHS with major real-world impacts. Marc has been to see it in action.
At the Hospital of St Cross in Rugby, as with all NHS hospitals, the push to cut surgical waiting times is more urgent than ever. This is one of 3 UK hospitals using an AI system aimed at maximising already stretched resources in operating theatres. It's a collaboration between the NHS and a commercial medtech company called Proxmi.
What we're trying to do is not change the operation by any say. It's all the operations that happen around it, all the tasks, the coordination that is happening in a very manual and very inefficient way.
Consultant surgeon Brian Reamer prepares to work in an operating theatre which has the AI system integrated.
The efficiencies and the speed is not to do with the operation or the anaesthetic. And so there's no pressure on us to increase our productivity or increase how fast we do things. But it looks at the marginal gains around between operations and theatre cleaning and trying to not have idle time in between. And then those small little increments can add up and potentially have an impact on trying to decrease the waitiness.
Marc, there are so many scary, dramatic headlines about AI. But I hope through the films that you are bringing us that we're starting to show people creative ways in which it is being used to improve and benefit the industries that people work in. Because a lot of people out there, the fear is that it replaces jobs rather than enhancing them. And that is an example you've just showed us there of where it can do an awful lot of good without replacing jobs.
A lot of the stories that I've made about AI and a lot of the AI innovations that I've seen, the things that I'm seeing at the moment where there is the most utility, where something is really, really useful, is in very small gaps. And some of the gaps that are quite dull and quite boring, but they can have the consequence of those gaps can be quite dramatic. I was concerned when I went off to make this film because I thought, okay, well, is there a risk here? Is there a risk to the quality of care that people will be receiving? And is there a risk because surgeons will feel that they have to work faster or because they're being observed, anything of that nature? Now, anybody that's ever met a surgeon will understand that they're a very particular sort of person and they have a very particular sort of way of working. And it's quite difficult to influence those people and to change their way of thinking and their way of working. As far as the surgeons that I spoke to were concerned, an operation takes as long as an operation takes. Anesthesiology takes as long as anesthesiology takes. They said to me that they didn't feel that they were under any pressure to work faster or try and get any more surgeries into a day, that they're finding those marginal gaps, finding those things around what goes on to try and find those efficiencies was where things were working in their favour in getting maybe
so it's
additional
like
operation.
the film you brought us some months ago of AI scribes for doctors.
Yeah.
Who sit there in surgery instead of having to take notes.
Transcription.
The AI just sits there.
Yeah, it's a really boring thing. That particular surgery that I went to visit, they had almost every kind of different AI technology that's being trialled at the moment in their surgery. There's a variety of different things. Some of them, things that include video, things that include, taking photographs of images of people's skin to tell them if you think that there might be cancerous cells there, all sorts of stuff like that. And what it came down to was the transcription tools were, as far as they were concerned, the most useful. And it keeps coming back to this, that these really, really simple, very, very small parts of the equation are what a lot of specialists in this field, in healthcare, are finding are the most useful.
Stephanie, I know you've been to the Great Ormond Street Hospital, and I think at some point we're going to do a film on that, which we're looking forward to. But the government's ambition is that the NHS will be the most AI-enabled healthcare system in the world. When you go to Great Ormond Street, do you see that in action?
Yes, I would actually say that this is something that's already happening. AI is being used in different parts of the NHS, some of it for research, which we would want. You want to be looking at AI in healthcare in two ways. The first is what can it automate? So taking notes, anything that's going to be helping with efficiency, reducing administrative burden for GPs, surgeons, hospitals, etc. But I think the real value add that everybody's looking for in healthcare is not necessarily automation, although that's the first stage. It's what can we do with AI that we can't do as humans, right? Where is it going to take us to a place that we can't before? So if you think about the work that we've done with sequencing the human genome, for instance, no human brain, no group of humans is going to be able to do that as well as an AI can. So you've got rare and complicated genetic diseases, for instance. You've got highly unusual types of activity. Maybe you're doing public health and you're studying a new pandemic, a new health outbreak. Getting that rapid detection. That is where AI, I think, holds real interesting promise.
When you're there, when you go to the hospitals, do you feel that AI is changing healthcare in America? Do you feel it as a user?
No, but I could see tremendous benefit there in that I mean, obviously, healthcare here is extremely expensive. I'm Australian, but I live in the US, and sometimes I fly to Australia to get my healthcare because it is so much cheaper. And there is clearly a ton of strain on this system. Anytime you have to go to the ER, you'll wait 12 hours maybe, no matter how urgent it is. So there's clearly need there. You know what I mean? That, like, you're talking about automation from even the simplest tasks to potentially
I hadn't quite realised actually when I talked about the cost benefit ratio. I was thinking about the system, but actually for patients who pay for their healthcare, that could be crucially important.
Yeah, I mean, I have to pay for my own insurance. It's $500 a month, and half of the time I won't get to see a doctor for 4 weeks, even though that's what I'm paying. It is an insane system over here that there is, yeah, tremendous burden in many facets of, and I would love to see it change in many ways. And if AI can do that, great.
Yeah.
We need help.
We need help. We certainly need help in our healthcare system as well. Just a reminder that you can email the programme. Many of you have been sending in your questions. And there is one this week that's really grabbed our attention. It's from Natsumi in Japan, who asks, do you think it will one day be possible for AI to understand the language of animals? Could this become feasible by studying the intervals, patterns, or nuances of their vocalizations? Well, Natsumi, it turns out that the BBC has already been exploring exactly that. Take a look.
There is a big question, what information is conveyed in animal communication? I've always dreamt of a Doolittle machine that will allow me to talk with animals. Specifically, I'm interested in bat vocal communication. How can you make any sense of what they are saying to each other? Just a few steps from the crowded highway in Israel, there's a secret kingdom of bats. My goal is to understand it. So there are hundreds of bats maybe vocalizing at the same time. And one of the major questions we are interested in is how, in this cacophony, in this, sometimes we call it a cocktail party, if we think of humans, how can you make any sense of what they are saying to each other with so much background noise? One of the main questions that we're interested in is what kind of information do these bat vocalizations convey? If you want to use AI, usually you need to annotate, you need large databases.
We're teaching the computer how to define between the different sounds and how to recognize what each sound means when we can hear it. For example, here, these are mating sounds. Okay, here they're eating. We just need to spend days watching all the hours of movies, and we teach the AI how to differentiate between the different sounds.
Alanah, gamers have spent decades bringing animals to life, their movements, their sounds, their behaviour. How realistic is what we see in gaming when it comes to animals? And could gaming actually be the gateway to one day understanding what animals are actually saying?
First off, I don't know about you guys, but I'm a little terrified of this. I don't know if I want to know what my dog is saying. Like, I feel like it's going to be
Give me another biscuit.
Treat, walk.
Why are you not taking me a walk? Yeah, I get
Exactly.
that.
A little bit afraid. But no, technology is actually very complicated in video game animation where quadrupeds are concerned. So it's actually quite difficult to animate any animal that has 4 legs. That is a nightmare for animators. So sometimes they've been using motion capture on dogs. You might have seen pictures of, they have like a little black suit on ping pong balls. They've started mocapping animals. So often now when you're seeing an animal in a video game, it is actually how they're walking on a stage. That's how they managed to make that a lot easier. Sounds are often directly recorded. I'm currently making an independent video game where I'm using sounds of my dog to put in the game, which is very, very cute. I don't know that gaming can offer a gateway to hearing the thoughts of animals, but I will say I'm sure you guys have seen those. They have buttons where a dog can press a particular button and say a word. They teach dogs to speak through. I don't know what that technology is called, but that is effectively a video game, just without the video part. It's the exact same technology. It's really just a series of inputs that are mapped to a series of buttons, and then when you press a button, an output happens. So that did come from the same kind of programming that video games start with to begin with.
Yeah. I'm not going to teach my dog to do that. Biscuit.
I know.
Biscuit. I'll let you into a secret. Marc is actually working on a documentary, am I right?
Yeah.
Exploring exactly this idea. Does it incorporate some of that?
There's a lot of technology out there, than there has been for years and years, which supposedly allows you to talk to domestic animals or will allow you to communicate with your dogs and cats. The veracity of some of this technology is questionable.
Who knows?
It's very, very questionable. You know, whether there's an app that you can put on your phone and lets you find out what your cat wants. Okay, but what I've been looking at is there's quite a lot of serious research which has gone into trying to understand different whale species, trying to understand what certain sorts of birds are actually communicating to one another, and effectively they're using video and audio, capturing video and audio of these animals, and then using AI to try and synthesize or try and boil down all of these thousands and thousands of bits of data, thousands and thousands of recordings, to try to understand if there is anything,
and does
any form of communication going on there.
Does the AI spot patterns in that humans haven't spotted?
Yes and no, because the work is really slow. It's ongoing right now. There's one particular project which is trying to create a language model which can act across a variety of different species as well. It's not just for birds, or it's not just for whales. It's a tool that will be able to be plugged in, if you like, or have plugins for different animals. But there's a long way to go, a really, really long way to go before we understand what whales are saying to one another, what their song actually means, or if they're just singing Harry Styles songs to one another.
A Google Translate for animals, that'd be quite a thing.
It would be amazing for veterinarians. I was thinking of zoologists and for researchers to find out, if an animal's hurting, and it's not obvious what the cause is, what's wrong with that. That would be incredible.
What about the law?
The law?
Well, what if you know...
Their privacy is being violated. I mean, it adds a new dimension to animal rights.
When researchers discovered in the 1960s that humpback whales were singing to one another, it did transform the Save the Whale campaign.
Of course. We may come to a very startling realization that animals are, in fact, sentient beings who deserve to be protected and maybe not hunted to extinction or even eaten. I genuinely think it's the sort of thing that as we learn more about a species, we start to care about it more. And we start, we talk about should AI have rights?
It's a large part. That is a large part of a lot of the work that's going on in this field. A very large part of it is trying to give human beings, us, a deeper and better understanding of the animals around us and the world around us. And as a consequence of that, perhaps it means that we'll have a different relationship with the animals.
It's not a conversation, is it? It's a communication of stress, of happiness, of well-being.
Yeah.
If you were to hear the stress patterns of a battery hen, that might revolutionize the food chain.
I mean, already so many animals use tools, right? So we used to think that only human beings use tools. And then Dr. Jane Goodall showed that chimpanzees could. That was her groundbreaking discovery. And we've since discovered loads of animals use tools. Birds are incredibly intelligent. Horses are they are emotionally intelligent as well as intelligent, do puzzles and stuff. So it's also, what do we mean by intelligence, which is a very AI question.
Yeah. Who knew that Alanah's dog was in her games? I certainly didn't. But there are animals that are very curious about AI. We have been looking at videos. You've been sending us your videos of your pets transfixed by the AI-generated content we were showing on the programme. Cats and dogs that were glued to the screen. And there is more. There is this one from Paula in Poole, whose cat, fair to say, has some pretty strong opinions. Was it you that encouraged cats and dogs to watch AI?
Yeah, well, this is our completely non-scientific experiment to see what would happen. Just what would happen. I think we're seeing some of the results now. Yeah, we're getting some of those results in now from our audience.
Yes, I don't think we want animal feedback on the programme. Viewer feedback is hard enough. Next week, we're going to take a deep dive into AI and the world of work, which I've been trying to get to for some time. How to use it responsibly, effectively, in a way that actually makes your life better. And I want to hear from you. So how are you using AI in your daily work life? Do email us at aidecoded@bbc.co.uk before the next show. Maybe we can incorporate some of that in the next programme. It'd be really useful. We look forward to hearing from you. Thank you very much to Alanah. Thank you, Marc and Stephanie, as ever. That's all we have time for this week. You can watch, incidentally, this episode and every previous one on the AI Decoded YouTube playlist. It's there on YouTube, and it's also available on the BBC iPlayer. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next week.